Hello everyone and welcome to my tutorial. This tutorial will be divided into two separate parts and we'll machine this part using multi-axis toolpaths. So in the first part we're going to select the machine, assign the stock, and using 3+2 automatic roughing toolpath we're going to rough the material inside area here, outside, and we'll rough the undercut section here on both sides. And of course in the description I'm going to leave the link for you guys so you can download this model and practice while watching the video. So let's start with selecting our work coordinate system. Where do we want the datum to be? Navigate to transform and move to origin, select it, and select where you want your X, Y, Z 0 to be. I want it to be, in our case, to be in the bottom of the part, X, Y in the center of the part, and Z pointing upwards. So we have now our work coordinate system selected in the right position, and let's select the machine. I'm going to use Mastercam machine, 5-axis, vari-axis, mill. Now we can assign the stock. I want to machine this part from billet, and the cylindrical shape is going to be along the Z-axis, and let's hit all solid. And stock material diameter is going to be 120 mm. That's fine, and we have now our stock. So our first toolpath we're going to use is 3+2 automatic roughing. You can find it in the toolpaths. Open the multi-axis gallery and navigate to application section and click on 3+2 automatic roughing, and we go through all the options. Okay, let's start from the top, and the first page is model geometry. This is where you select your faces or 3D models or surfaces, the geometry you want to rough and you want to machine, and you can have more groups if you want. And to select the faces, you click this button here, and in our case I'm going to select the whole 3D model, so whole part. I want to rough out the whole part, and I want to leave 0.2 mm on the walls and 0.2 mm on the floors of stock. So I'm going to leave 0.2 mm to finish with my finishing tool. And in avoidance geometry you can add a group and select the geometry you want to avoid, your check surfaces. And also you can have different values of stock on walls to leave and on floor. That means if you put here, for example, 1 mm, that means you want to keep your cutter 1 mm away from the walls. And if you put any value here, that means you want to keep distance, the cutter this distance away from the floor surfaces. And as well you can select some avoidance geometry, whatever you want to keep your cutter away from. We don't need any avoidance geometry, just wanted to show you. Also you can change the color of the group, and when you select your machine geometry and avoidance geometry, and in this way you can easily see the color representation of each group on the 3D model. So if we go hide the dialog, you can see that this is my 3D model I want to machine, and we want to avoid this area here. Of course, it doesn't matter in our case because we're gonna machine it from the top, but just wanted to show you. Okay. We don't need any avoidance. I'm going to remove it. The next page is tool page. I'm going to use different tool library. I want to use millimeter. Open. And I'm going to use I'm gonna use 20 mil with 2 mil rad. I'm gonna select my cutting speeds and feeds. Okay. As a holder, I'm going to use B4K50032, so it's 32 ER32 collets with the tool projection of 160. My overall length of this cutter is 200 mil, long series 20 mil with 2 mil rad. Stock page. Here we need to tell Mastercam how much stock Mastercam has to rough out. So let's put the tick against the stock and let's leave it as it is on the job setup. So Mastercam will rough the material that we assign in the stock setup here. Next page. Of course, you have option to select your 3D model. If you have like a 3D model representing the stock, you can select the 3D model. Just select this option and just use the selection button and select the 3D model. Or if you have a stock model created, you can select the stock model. In our case, we're going to use job setup. Next page is cut pattern. So all the settings regarding our cut, the pattern, the step over, and the depth cuts. Let's start with the pattern. We have 3 choices. Offset, it will offset the shape of your part. The parallel, zigzag, and you can change the angle as well. And I'm going to use dynamic motion, dynamic kind of cut pattern. And depth cuts, I want to do 10mm depth cuts. You have different options here that we will talk about later. Sorting options. So I'm going to use zigzag. You can use one way or zigzag. I'm going to use zigzag. And when you use zigzag, you have option to control your step over or climb and conventional motion. And as well, you can change the feed rate for conventional feed rate. I'm going to leave those on 100%. I'm going to leave 2000 feet as well. And as well, a sorting option, you can machine by levels. So it will cut one depth everywhere on the 3D model. And then we'll go to the second depth and machine everywhere. So if you have a lot of pockets, it might result in a large quantity of retractions. With the region option selected, if you have multiple pockets, it will finish the first one before moving to the next pocket or the next area. Next option here is a step over. I'm going to use roughly 25% of the tool, 5 millimeters. Okay, your surface quality, so is your cut tolerance. Let's leave it as it is, as we are going to leave some stock that we set on walls and floors in model geometry. Sorry. So our depth cut is at the moment 10 millimeter constant depths and depth cuts, and we can add some step ups or intermediate cuts in between your 10 millimeter cuts. And to do that, click on the small plus next to cut pattern page and select the sub page depth step, and you can select first depth step and the final depth step. Both of them has to be smaller than your constant depth step that you set in the cut pattern. Also, you can select your Z depths you want to add to the list. Intermediate cuts, slices if you want to add cuts between your main cuts, depth steps. Place the tick. It will activate your intermediate slices. So that can be controlled by number of slices between your cuts. You can add 2, 3, as many cuts as you want, as many slices as you want, or you can add depth step in millimeter, or if you are in imperial mode, you can add in and add them in inches. So I'm gonna set it to 2 millimeters, and I want to cut them after last depth. You can cut it after each step, so it will cut one depth down and then step up, like in our 3D toolpaths. Or you can machine all the depths all the way down and then machine this intermediate slices after machining the whole part, all the depths. And this is what I'm gonna use in this video. I'm going to rough the part all the way down and then machine my additional cuts at the end. You can machine the flatlands. So if the flatland is more than 1 mil, I will machine them as well. But we don't have many flat areas on our 3D model. Heights, we leave as it is. Tool axis control. Tool axis control, you have 3 modes. One is automatic, then is semi-automatic, and you have also manual option. In automatic mode, you can set your search angle increment in this box here, and Mastercam using this angle increment will search for the best solution to rough your 3D model. In the next box, max stock to leave, you can specify the maximum amount of material you want to leave on each roughed face on our 3D model or on our part. And this of course has to be greater than the stock value you put in machine geometry, avoidance geometry, or plus your cut pattern cutting tolerance in this box here. So the value in this box you need to remember to keep greater than the sum of the cut tolerance plus stock in model geometry you're planning to leave. The second mode is semi-automatic, and you can add your own planes, plus Mastercam will try to search for additional planes if required. This mode is very similar to the automatic, so you still have your search angle increment, you have max stock to leave, and also the maxed tilt range. So it's in our case, it's our A axis. But you still have this Mastercam automatic search on top of the tool planes you add. So in this box, you list your tool planes that you tell Mastercam to machine to rough your 3D model. You add and select planes in the same way as you do in manual mode. So let's have a look into manual mode. The manual mode is used when you want to tell Mastercam exactly what planes you want to use to rough your part, and Mastercam will not add any additional planes or not search for any additional planes. Now I'm going to show you how easy it is to add new tool planes. Anywhere on this window, click right mouse button and you have three options. You can add a line, remove a line, or select tool plane. First option will add a line with your tool plane, and you can add as many lines as you want or as many tool planes as you want. And when you highlight the line and click right button, you can select the plane to save on that line. So let's go through all the selection methods. So you have standard top, front and side. You can easily change from front to back or from one side to the other side. When you click on named plane button, you can select one of the planes that you have in your planes manager. You can select one of the planes that are standard on the list or the planes that you created yourself to rough the 3D model or your part. Okay, let's go back to the selection. Okay, the next option you can use is graphics view, the G view button. So basically first you rotate the 3D model to the position, to the angle you want to machine your 3D model. When you think that you are in right position, just click the G view button and Mastercam will save this graphics view as a plane, and it will use it to machine or rough out your part or 3D model. Another one method we can use to select the tool plane is geometry. It is the same like in creating a plane based on geometry in Plane Manager. So if you have a circle, it's enough to select one wireframe entity, and then it will give you one of the 8 solutions for your plane. If you use lines, you would have to select 2 lines, X and then Y. And then as well it gives you the option to select one of the planes. The next method you can use is as well same as creating the planes in Plane Manager here, and you use the solid face button, and then you have to select one of the flat faces, so like this one or this one or that one, and Mastercam again will ask you to select one of the 8 proposed planes. And let's say I would like to use this one. Okay, and the last method I'm going to show you is to create a tool plane by using dynamic option. So basically select dynamic, select the point of rotation and rotate the 3D model to the position you would like to machine it. So I would like to rough it from, for example, from this view, and Mastercam will create the plane, tool plane for us. Okay, I'm going to remove one of the planes, and I only need a top plane. Okay, let's move to next setting page. And on the collision control page, you can add some collision avoidance to your roughing operation. So you can check with the machining surfaces. So you check if the holder, shank and the shoulder are not hitting any features of your part. You can add extra clearance, and the second option you have is to check with in-process stock. So when you roughen the material, when you roughen your part, you leave some material, stock material on the walls, on the floors, around the part, and you can check against this stock material or in-process material. Our next setting page is linking. At the top of the page, you can set from where you want your first entry to be, and you can set it to approach from clearance area, rapid area, or from feed area. And also you have option to switch on, switch off use of ramp. And for your last exit, you can select retract to clearance, rapid or feeder area. On this page, you can also set your default links within the group and between the groups of cuts. In our case, we can set between groups, so between the areas of cut. And you can go direct on the straight line to the next position, or you can blend into the cut, or as well you can retract to feed rapid or clearance distance. In our example, I'm gonna leave default links between groups as direct. You can as well set your default linking within the group, but this is active when you have different type of cut, for example parallel or offset. And the list of default links is the same as in linking between the groups. In our tutorial, I want to use dynamic. On the bottom of the page, you have your clearance area, and you can set direction of your clearance area, X, Y or Z axis, or you can select the line and show direction where you want your clearance to be. In our case, I'm going to leave it as a machining direction. You can set the distance to your clearance area in this box here if you use user defined, or switch to automatic and let Mastercam to decide or calculate your clearance area. On the right hand side of the screen, you have your distances. So you can set your rapid distance, you can set your entry feed and exit feed distances, as well as air move safety distance. The next setting page is roughing, and you can set your approach moves. We have three choices here. You can leave it on automatic, you can set your ramp type to helical, and you can use line. I'm gonna set as line, as I don't want to use any ramping or helical entry. I just want to have straight line 90 degree. Okay, let's leave the rest of the settings as they are and accept our automatic roughing toolpath, and let's have a look how it looks like. To regen this toolpath, it takes few minutes, so I'm going to cut out of this tutorial and you can see the results now. Okay, let's run the verify quickly, but as well I'm just going to show you the result, as I don't want you to wait minutes for during the processing time. I'm happy with the result. Of course, we could get the same result by using 3D toolpath like OptiRough or Pocket. Okay, let's close the verify, and I want to create a stock model that I can use in our next toolpath. Navigate to Mill Toolpaths, then select stock model. In the older version of Mastercam, you had to remember to put the name. In 2021, Mastercam numbers our stock models, so with every new stock model it creates one number higher, so the highest number is the most recent stock model. So now we have to tell Mastercam what was the initial stock. Click the stock setup button and Mastercam will copy everything from here, from our stock setup. In the source operation, highlight the operation we just completed, and we will create the stock how it looks after the machining this toolpath. Accept with the green tick button, and let's see our stock. Good. So now we can use this stock in our next operation, and that will eliminate all the air cuts or fresh air cuts. So you see, we have a lot of area that we still need to rough, still need to machine, and we're gonna use also 3+2 automatic roughing, but we will contain the toolpath only to the area we want. So the next step will be creating a boundary. Let's rotate the 3D model to the side view, and instead of loading everything into the same level where you keep the 3D model, let's keep the things organized, and we are going to create a new level. I'm gonna call it containment for 3+2, and all the entities that we're going to create now for our boundary will go to this level. Oh, one moment, I'm in the front view. I want it to be on the side view. You can use one of the short keys, Alt+5 or Alt+6, to switch to right or left construction plane. Also, I'm going to use 2D construction mode, as I want to make sure that I draw everything on the same Z depth. And first I'm going to create a circle from the center of the round part of the arm. I want to exclude it from being roughed in my next toolpath, and I'm gonna use this circle together with the rectangle to create containment boundary. With this rectangle, cover the area roughly you want to rough with the next toolpath. I think this looks okay. Now I'm going to my levels, and I'm gonna turn off displaying my 3D model, as I want to see only my wireframe. And next step, I'm gonna use divide option to cut up, trim our circle with rectangle to create one closed chain. Okay, now we can go back to our levels manager and turn back on visibility of our level with 3D model. Now we are ready to build our next toolpath to rough this area. Navigate to milling toolpaths and hit 3+2 automatic again. And I'm going to use a smaller tool this time because I want to get deeper underneath this holder. So I'm going to use a 8mm, maybe 6mm carbide ball nose. Let's set our speeds and feeds. Tool holder, 44mm. Let's put it maybe 50mm. It's just standard ER32 B2C4 holder. Well, actually 46mm should be more than enough. On the stock page, this time I'm not gonna use job setup. Select stock model, and from the drop down menu, select stock number 1 we just created. Next page is model geometry, and let's select faces we want to machine. Triple click on any of the face of the solid, and Mastercam will select whole 3D model for us. We don't need any avoidance geometry, and let's set our stock to leave on walls 0.2 and on the floors 0.2 as well. Let's go and do some settings in our cut pattern page. Mastercam remembers the settings from our previous toolpaths, so I'm gonna do only a few tweaks. Depth of cut, and I'm gonna change the step over. And to select our containment, put the tick on that box here and press on the arrow. We need to be on the wireframe selection mode, and with the closed chain selection method, click on the boundary we created in the previous step. Now you can see that you have a one chain with the containment, and after adding the chain, you activate one of the sub pages, and you have 3 standard options for controlling the containment of tools motion during machining. You can keep the tool inside the boundary, you can keep it on the center line or outside. Plus you have offset that you can set. In our case, we can keep it on the center or outside because we have our stop model selected and we will cut out all the air cuts anyway. We have our depth of cut set to 5 mil, but Mastercam remembers the setting from our previous operation where our intermediate cuts were set to 2 mm. In this roughing operation, I want my step-ups to be roughly 1 mil. In our first operation, we used top tool plane. This time in our tool axis control page, I'm going to select 2 different tool planes. So I'm still going to use manual mode, right click on the line, select tool plane, and I want to select right side. So I can click on this button side, it will select the right side, or I can choose the tool plane from named plane. As I explained in our first roughing toolpath, to be able to select the plane first, I need to add a new line. And as I want to have 2 tool planes, I need 2 lines, 1 per each tool plane. The reason I need 2 because I want to rough the section under this spherical part of the 3D model that is on both sides, and I cannot reach both of them with one tool plane. And as I want to rough only this area here, that's why we are containing the toolpath with the boundary. Okay, we have our right tool plane. Let's select our left one now. And oh sorry, that's the right one again. Let's select our left tool plane. Okay, and this way we have all we need to generate the toolpath. I'm not gonna change anything else. All the settings are remembered from our first roughing toolpath and I'm happy with those. So let's click OK and let's have a look at the toolpath. Okay, it takes a bit of time to get the toolpath ready. So let's rotate the 3D model a little bit, maybe a bit more, so we can clearly see the toolpath when it comes. Okay, the toolpath is ready. Let's have a quick look into verify. Okay, it looks good. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, the next toolpath I'm going to use is multi-axis parallel. And basically what I want to achieve is prepare this section, clean up this section here, prepare it for our finishing toolpath. And to select our next toolpath, navigate to Toolpaths, Multi-Axis Gallery, and open Parallel. Okay, in the tool page, I'm going to select the same tool that we used in previous operation. So it's going to be 6mm ball nose. I don't want to select any stock, and I want my cuts to be parallel to a curve. And with the solid mode selection, I'm going to select the edge of this face. Okay. And we need to tell Mastercam what we want to machine. So as our drive surface, I'm going to select this face with the fillet next to it. And in drive surface offset, I'm going to set my stock to leave. I'm going to leave 0.1. And as I need only a few cuts in the area part, the type I'm going to switch to determined by number of cuts. And I need only 5 cuts, let's say. Okay, so number of cuts, 5. And the step over, I'm gonna go by 2mm. And I'm going to change the cutting method to one way and machine those by regions. Next page is tool axis control. I want to use output format as 5 axis and tool axis control surface with tilt, and I'm going to add a tilt, and I want it to be around 70 degree. So I want to use more of the side of the tool to cut the faces. Next page is collision control page, and I want to add a second level of tool control, and I'm going to add a tilt action to avoid collision. And I want to check all segments of the tool against the check surfaces here, and I'm going to select the whole 3D model. Okay. And to prevent the collision between my tool and the selected check surfaces, Mastercam will tilt the tool. And I'm going to keep the tool away from my check surfaces, point 1. Plus you have some clearances on the tool holder shank and shoulder. I'm going to leave the rest of the settings as default. And let's have a look at the toolpath. As it is only a few cuts, it shouldn't take a long time. Yeah, and we got it straight away. Okay, result is good. This is what I need. Okay, I think our roughing is complete. And just the last thing, I want to create stock model so it is ready for the second part of the video where we finish this part complete. So let's go and create stock model. Automatic name number 2. And this time I'm not gonna use a stock setup. As an initial stock, I'm gonna use a stock model that is already pre-roughed. And I've got only 2 toolpaths that I want to compute this stock model from. Highlight those 2 toolpaths, click OK, and let's have a look in the result. And to save you time waiting, I'm gonna pause the video for the processing time. Okay, this is our stock model that we are going to use in the second part of this tutorial, where we will use only multi-axis toolpaths to finish this part. Okay, thank you for watching first part of this tutorial, and if you liked it or you want to join me on the future tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, leave the comment, or if you found this useful, hit the like button to encourage me to spend more time to create more tutorials for you guys. Thank you.